With more than 1,500 fatalities, the Titanic sinking on April 15, 1912, is still regarded as one of the most catastrophic maritime catastrophes in history. Nevertheless, 705 people survived the mayhem and misery, each with a distinct tale influenced by that terrible evening. Their experiences provide insight into the lives that went on long after the fateful ship was lost to the frigid seas, illustrating tenacity, heartache, and the unbreakable human spirit. Who are the survivors of the Titanic? According to most records, 705 people, mostly women and children, survived the Titanic disaster. A few of the Titanic survivors were well-known individuals. Among these survivors are the now famous American socialite Molly Brown and the White Star Line's top official, J. Bruce Ismay. Dean Milvina. At the age of 97, Dean, the final surviving Titanic survivor, died in 2009. Dean had just been alive for 2 months when the disaster occurred. Brown, Molly. Brown was formerly referred to as the Unsinkable. Molly Brown, who was on lifeboat number 6 as well, is said to have begged the crew to go back to the wreckage and aid the survivors. However, it's unclear if she was successful in persuading them to come back. Bowerman, Elsie. Bowerman, a supporter of women's suffrage, shared Brown's lifeboat. After the engine stopped, there was a pause, and then a steward knocked on our door and instructed us to board. After doing this, we were placed in lifeboats and instructed to evacuate the liner as quickly as possible in case of suction. Bowerman, who survived the Titanic tragedy, served as a medic during World War I before pursuing a legal education. She was the first barrister at law to work at the Old Bailey in London Courthouse. Lucy Duff Gordon and Cosmo. Cosmo Duff Gordon was eviscerated by the public for boarding a lifeboat that was intended exclusively for women and children, but the married couple Duff Gordons also survived. Both of them eventually boarded lifeboat number 1. Lucy Duff Gordon explained, "It looked like everyone was running toward that boat. I remember being helped into one of the boats after being shoved in its direction." Astor, Madeleine. When the Titanic sank, Madeleine Astor, who had just been married to John Jacob J.J. Astor, was pregnant and on her honeymoon. She later gave birth to their son after being rescued after her husband died. In 1940, she passed away at the age of 46. Eva Hart. Hart, who subsequently received the Most Excellent Order of the British Empire, was 7 years old at the time of the tragedy. She frequently spoke on the record about her memories of the incident, including the well-known statement that nobody would have perished that night if there had been enough lifeboats. At the age of 91, Hart passed away in 1996. Collier, Charlotte. Collier survived as a second-class traveler. She later related the heartbreaking tale of her separation from her husband, who was 31 at the time. There was hardly anyone who had not been separated from husband, child, or friend. Was the final member of the little group spared? Despite my strong religious beliefs, I had a husband to find and thought he might be in one of the boats. He wasn't present. Edmond and Michel Navratil. Michel and Edmond Navratil, who are most famously known as the Titanic orphans, were 2 and 4 years old, respectively, when the Titanic went down. He put the 2 French brothers in the final lifeboat and said goodbye. The lads had been traveling by ship alone, with their father and mother behind in France. Unfortunately, their father died on the Titanic. Later, Michel described to the BBC the agonizing experience of leaving his father behind. He took me in his arms and dressed me very warmly. For my brother, a stranger did the same. Now that I think about it, I am deeply affected. They were aware of their impending death. At 4, I passed away. I have been a fair dodger of life ever since, a glimpse of time. As the only children rescued without a parent or guardian, their story made international headlines when they arrived in New York as survivors. And finally, the mother of the boys learned of it. To claim them, she traveled to New York. Michel, the oldest brother, passed away in 2001, but Edmond died in 1953. He was the last male Titanic survivor still alive, and he was 92. Elizabeth Shutes. On board the Titanic, Shutes, a native of New York, was serving as governess to Margaret, the adolescent daughter of Mr. William Thompson Graham. They were all three first-class travelers returning to America, where Shutes would remain in Connecticut as Margaret's nanny. The entire length of the ship seemed to tremble strangely beneath me. I jumped to the ground, startled by the shivering motion's very strangeness. I laid down once again, my faith in that powerful vessel too perfect. "Come quickly to my cabin. An iceberg has just passed our window. I know we have just struck one," a friend's voice remarked as someone knocked on my door. Gibson, Dorothy Gibson, a silent film actress who sailed aboard the Titanic with her mother, went on to star in Saved from the Titanic, the first film ever made about the ship's demise. However, she quickly left the movie business and went back to Europe. Unfortunately, she suffered even more tragedy during World War II when she was detained in a detention camp. Amidst the unusual commotion among the people on the balcony, we heard a frenzied gathering of voices from the ship. Then, the terrible event occurred, the event that will live in my memory until the day I pass away. Nobody can explain the terrifying noises. Leslie, Lucy Noel. Leslie, sometimes known as the Countess of Rothes, did more than merely live. She bravely assisted in guiding Lifeboat 8 to safety. According to able seaman Thomas Jones, a crewman, she had a lot to say, so I put her in charge of piloting the boat. She continued to concentrate on her philanthropy while serving as a medic during World War I. Bear, Carl, professional tennis player Bear, fell in love with Helen Newsome on the Titanic. Bear aggressively followed Newsome when she was on vacation with her family. Newsome and her family arrived aboard Lifeboat number 5 after Bear awakened them up when he realized the ship had struck an iceberg. They both made it through the sinking, married, and had 4 kids together. Following the terrible catastrophe, the Titanic survivors faced a variety of outcomes. While Madeleine Astor experienced severe personal loss, others, like Milvina Dean and Molly Brown, rose to prominence as examples of bravery and tenacity. Numerous survivors went on to have extraordinary lives and make contributions to society in a variety of professions, including nursing and law. Their tales demonstrate the resilience and adaptability of the human spirit despite the atrocities they faced. The Titanic's legacy endures because it serves as a constant reminder of both the frailty of life and the resilience of those who survived. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment below. Let us know what you think and what you'd like to see next. Your support helps the channel grow.